Yeah, they see me on top and they get mad cause they can't top me. Got me running up the skull when they even matter cause they can't stop me. Yeah, they see them trying to watch me and they trying to copy and it's looking sloppy. Yeah, we about to get it poppin', talking non-stop, can I get a copy? Yeah, you see me on top and they getting mad cause they can't top me. Got me running up the skull when they make money, make money, make money, then you take money, take money, take money.
Hello and welcome back to KSB TV YouTube channel. I'm your host, Black Hexkin, and we are here for another episode of Crypto Convos. So today, you guys know I'm diving deep into my new portfolio. I've been building up a nice little bag of Ethereum, trying to decide which altcoin is going to get my first new buy. Of course, we've been talking about Hex a lot. But we can't talk about all of your options without talking about these new projects that are built on Hex, like Hedron, like Icosa, and also the derivatives like Maxi, Deci, and Lucky and those. But today is all about Hedron and Icosa, so I have invited two people that I know are extremely knowledgeable on the matter. One of them you guys know very well. He's a member of the KSB team, KSB Lion. And the other one, I'm pretty sure that you guys know him as well because he is a Hex OG, has been around the ecosystem and the community for a long time, goes by Blue Bum on Twitter, Telegram. So I'm not going to wait any longer. I want to dive straight into this topic and say, hello, KSB Lion. Hello, Blue Bum. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, Black, how's it going? I'm chilling in, well, not chilling, the opposite of chilling, in Mexico life, and happy to, looking forward to speaking to Icosa.
Yes, so we know that you're in Mexico and that we don't know how stable your internet connection is going to be. It was really great when you first got on, going a little in and out now, may even have to try turning the camera off at some point. But happy to at least see you for the first couple minutes.
Yeah, and also hello from my side. Hi, Caitlin. Thanks for inviting me to the stream today. And today we will explain the Hedron and Icosa system, the HSI system to the people. And let's see how the connection will go on with Blue here. I would recommend that we already try without the camera, that we get at least a good audio out of you, Blue.
Yeah. Let's see. You want to talk?
How's that? Maybe I'll just.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, really good.
Stick this on. Okay, you can. Fantastic. And so what should we start with Hedron and what it is?
Yeah, so I know our audience here knows KSB Lion very well. So typically, just to get started, just so people understand, where your expertise comes from, maybe you could just share a little bit about your crypto backstory, how you found Hex, and then what made you, be such an advocate for Hedron.
Yeah, I got into crypto 2000 and what was it? 15 or 16. I think I read about it in 2015, but bought my first Bitcoin in 2016. Made all of the mistakes, was scammed, did all of the learnings, and rode the bull market up. And when it all started crashing down, I realized it was going to be a long bear market, so I just put it all my alts into Bitcoin, and just didn't actually pay attention to crypto for about a year. And then when I thought that the next halving is coming, I started looking into it again, started playing, realized all of this stuff that had happened on Ethereum, like Uniswap and stuff like that. And then about 6 months into that little journey, I saw a tweet from Richard Hart which said I could get free Hex with Bitcoin. I said, okay, I'll check this out. And within a week or two, I was basically selling all my Bitcoin for Hex. So I kind of saw it very obviously as a no-brainer at the time. I thought it was just a really smart value proposition, and that value proposition would continue into the future no matter when people were coming into it. And that was all pretty exciting. And that first year of Hex, and then at some point, shall I just keep going into how I found Hedron? Yeah. Like we basically, it wasn't. I mean, there comes a point when we were looking into Hex where it was like, well, what are we gonna? We found it. What now? What is there to talk about? I remember even thinking, like, what are all these influencers going to talk about now? Like, it's all just been worked out. But yeah, I basically, was searching around, and I got very early into one of the Telegram chats of Hedron, and there in that Telegram chat there was some really, really big brains, including Alex, the guy who made Hedron, plus a few other people, some of the admins in there now, and I just thought it was a really smart idea. It was quite complex at first, and it took about a good week for me to wrap my head around it. But once I wrapped my head around it, it was like learning a new game, and I just thought, holy moly, this is going to be amazing. And Alex was very smart in that he didn't tell everyone that he was releasing the second contract until about 6 months after Hedron had already launched. And so a lot of the OG Hexicans who were getting all of these free tokens for their Hex stakes were quite naturally dumping them and didn't see the long-term value of Hedron. And once that market, after about 6 months, had found a bottom, that's when he released Icosa, which meant that not only could you get free tokens from your Hex stakes, but you can then stake those tokens, and the tokens you earn from that staking, you could stake them, plus a few of other sort of tokenomics things that you could do with crypto, which were are still quite revolutionary in a lot of ways, like being able to wrap a Hex stake up and sell it as an NFT. And ever since that time, we've really seen an explosion in all sorts of different NFTs that can bear yield. And so that's, I guess, my crypto story in a little nutshell.
Yeah. So for somebody who, is pretty new to crypto, has been diving into the ecosystem, so they found Rigid Heart, they're understanding Hex. How do you explain the relationship between Hex and Hedron?
Look, Hedron is just a free token that you can mint from having a Hex stake. So I see it as literally just a free token. If you want to get, and at the simplest level, like you have a Hex stake, you can mint Hedron for free, and you can stake that Hedron, and then you can get Icosa for that, and then you can stake the Icosa. And so, in a way, that system, like you can look at it into a more complex way, because like the issuance of Icosa is dependent on how much Hedron is burnt each day. So it's almost like squeezing a balloon. Like if Hedron is burnt, then it comes out as Icosa. And so in some ways, it was just kind of like a stock split almost, whereby you're getting this other token for burning, for when this other token is burnt, or if you've staked. And so when you look at that and you start looking at the intricate tokenomics, there's all sorts of interesting kind of relationships. For instance, there's a ceiling price of Hedron compared to Hex, and there's a ceiling price of Icosa compared to Hex. Now, that doesn't mean that the prices are tied together. What it means is if the price gets high enough, there's an arbitrage opportunity which brings the price down. So that's why we call it a ceiling. And so there are some really interesting, I mean, some people call it a derivative. I don't like calling it a derivative because the word derivative kind of has a different connotation in TradFi. And so I think it's a unique thing that we don't have a word for. But at the simplest level, it's just a free token that you can mint for having a Hex stake.
Mm-hmm. So just to, Patrick, you're muted. Let's get you.
I'm sorry, yeah. So I just wanted to sum that up. So as Blueworm is saying, so Hedron itself is just a free token based on the T-share system, and then the whole Hedron iCosta system is just a new system when it comes to hex stakes. So it's just a new way or a new option of staking your hex in a much more flexible way, because you can just always choose the maximum length, the 5,555 days, but then you have the possibility, the option that you can sell this stake to somebody else, because like the Hedron iCosta system, the smart contract system behind it is designed in such a way that you can move around your hex stakes in a flexible way, whereas with native hex staking, you cannot move them away from your own wallet.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess what I didn't jump into, like, it's more than just a free token that you get from having a hex stake. It's also like you're able to encapsulate a stake, and therefore, you know, keep it as an NFT and sell it later on a market, or transfer it to another person and give it as a gift or whatever. And then you also have the advanced feature, which is you're able to borrow the Hedron that a stake can mint into the future. And, you know, you have to pay back that borrow, obviously, with a very small amount of interest. And that's a really novel approach to lending and borrowing in cryptocurrency. And yeah, that's something maybe we want to talk about. I'm not sure. It gets quite complex.
Yeah. So I know that I try to keep it, you know, to the basic form, and I don't want people to get overwhelmed in all the technicals, but somebody like me, I learned from seeing, right? So I think our best option would maybe be to pull up the iCosta app or the Hedron app, and then maybe just to like go through the different tabs, because one thing that I love about the platform, the front end itself, is that it eliminates a step for me, right? If I have Hedron and I want to mint my Hedron before my stake ends, I don't have to first go to the Hedron app and then go to the Hex app to end my stake. I can do everything from the Hedron app. And so I think that would probably be a good starting point for us to just go through the Hex tab, go through you know, the functions of the Hedron tab, and then the iCosta tab. So KSB
So
Lion.
Bluebum, what do you think? What is the best app to bring up?
iCosta app
the
for
best
sure.
website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
also
Hedron
with
app.
informations and so on.
Yeah, probably. I think the best place for information, if new people want to go to for information, is to go to the Telegram chat and to work out how to use the parser, because the parser in Hedron and iCosta are fantastic, and there's tons of information. A parser is just basically a menu that you can bring up when you're in the Telegram chat. So you type !parser, no spaces, and that will bring up a menu, and then it has all these different calls. So if you want to find out what an HSI is, you type in !HSI. And that's where I always send beginners, because then they can also ask questions in those chats.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are two apps. There's the Hedron app and there's the iCosta app. The Hedron app was originally made, and it's probably it still works, but everything that's on the Hedron app pretty much is all on the iCosta app. And the iCosta app has really become the one-stop shop for all things Hex, because you can end native stakes there as well, or good account, and it's just a fantastic user experience. It changes addresses really quickly if you need to swap between addresses. It changes networks really well if you need to change networks. And so, yeah, the iCosta app is the premier one to use.
Yeah.
All right, then I guess I will share the iCosta app. Kaylin, you just need to bring it up, and then we can see it already.
Perfect.
That's the website.
So right. Yeah, so you meant I should bring up that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Here we go.
And then if we could just go through what you can do, the steps as far as, and I think this is great because you have a wallet that actually shows a hex state and the option to be able to mint the available Hedron. And then I've heard that you can also borrow, right? You can borrow against your active hex stakes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
here we have the native hex stake, and when I go here on the side to the Hedron task, then we see the HSI, the encapsulated stakes, where we also have two.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
moving-
then it says how much you can mint at the moment. The way Hedron works is, like with every day that goes by, you can mint more Hedron, and so that mintable Hedron goes up every day. Then you also have the advanceable Hedron. That's how much Hedron you can get in advance, which is a borrow basically, and you have to pay that back. And at the under actions, if you press actions, you'll see the different choices that you can have. You can either mint your Hedron. You can do that at any time during the stake. You want to make sure that you do it before you end the hex stake, because if you end the hex stake and haven't minted your Hedron, it's a waste.
The Hedron are lost, yeah.
Yeah. So tokenize, that basically means turning it into an NFT. And that gives you the ability to either send it to another address, or to send it to a friend, or to send it to a place like OpenSea to sell it. Or you can actually sell it to the ICOSA contract. But let's not get into that yet.
Right. Yeah, let's back up a little bit, because I think we're on the Hedron tab. If we're on the Hex tab, then your main options there is to see your current stakes, right? And then it's going to show you how much mintable Hedron is available. Now, if you only have small stakes, do you suggest that someone does the calculation to see if it's worth to mint that Hedron? Because isn't it possible that just based on gas fees, that it would be better off to just go and buy $10 worth of Hedron as opposed to mint it off a small stake?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's a very small stake, then it might not be a lot of Hedron that you're minting, and therefore it doesn't have a high monetary value. And you might be better off, if you did want to get Hedron, just to buy it as opposed to minting it.
Do you know approximately the gas fees required, or the average gas fees?
It's cost me. Yeah, look, I've been getting I've been doing stuff when gas is around 20 Gwei, and it costs maybe like $2.10, something like that to mint.
What does that say?
Yeah, right now MetaMask would say $4, but it's also at 45 Gwei. So obviously, if I put it down to 2023, then it's like about $2.80 to $2.50.
Okay. So then that would be your comparison as far as whether or not it's worth it to mint your available Hedron before, right? And then that is your only options as far as your native hex stakes, how to accumulate Hedron. Now, once you are in the Hedron tab, that's where you see the HSI. So let's just break that down a little bit. How do you acquire HSI? What is the HSI good for?
Yeah, so an HSI is stands for hex stakes instance, and it just means creating a hex stake through the Hedron contract. So when you create a hex stake through the Hedron contract, as opposed to just the native way, you have a few other options, like you can turn it into an NFT, and you're able to borrow the Hedron from it.
So basically, it's kind of like staked hex in liquid form, in that it can be moved.
Yeah, but it's not liquid, because it's like it's an NFT, so it's just, you can only sell the whole thing. You can't sell half of the thing or a quarter of the thing. Yeah.
Okay. Makes good sense. And then on the HSI, once you have created HSI, then you have the option to do the advanced Hedron. This is the only place where you can essentially borrow from your HSI. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And then if you did decide, so you have this HSI, and now you decide that I would like to go ahead and sell it, then your steps would be to tokenize and then to sell for ICOSA or what?
Sorry, say that
So at
again.
first,
Didn't go. You go for it, Patrick.
At first, you tokenize the HSI stake. Then you see it down here at the tokenized HSI section. And in the process of tokenizing it, you're essentially making a NFT out of it. So you're just like isolate the stake. And that means that once it's down here, you have further options where your options are that you can list it on OpenSea, that you can send it to a different wallet address or just like to a different address, or that you can also exchange it for ICOSA.
Okay. So then, yeah, let's talk about ICOSA a little bit. What is the value? Was ICOSA essentially just created so that you could have another option to sell your NFT? What was the idea behind ICOSA?
Well, you can stake Hedron and earn ICOSA. So that you stake Hedron through the ICOSA contract. And then you can also stake the ICOSA. And when you stake Hedron, you earn ICOSA. When you stake ICOSA, you earn ICOSA and Hedron. And where do they come from? The ICOSA you get, the contract just creates it. But the Hedron that you get, that goes back to if you want to sell the HSI stake to the ICOSA contract. And when you sell your HEX stake to the ICOSA contract, there's a formula which works out how much ICOSA you can receive. And that's based on the T-share rate. It's based on how many days that HEX stake is for, how much, how many T-shares are in there, and then divided by the whatchamacallit, the HEX T-share rate, so that amount that you can get sort of is going to be going down over time. And yeah, so what happens is when somebody sells an HSI to the ICOSA contract, the ICOSA contract immediately borrows all of the available Hedron from that stake. And that's the Hedron that you see is distributed to the people who are staking ICOSA. Now, because that borrowed Hedron is not going to be paid back, the contract is not going to pay it back, after 90 days, it will go into default. And that's where we have the last tab there, the HSI auctions. If you just click on there, the HSI auctions are all of these HEX stakes that have been sent to the ICOSA contract. And now the ICOSA contract has borrowed the Hedron, they've gone into default. And so people have the ability to pay off that borrow, and that creates a 24-hour auction where anybody can bid with Hedron. And at the end of that process, all of the winning bid of Hedron, that amount of Hedron is burnt. And so, and also, there's a lot of feedback loops here, because the way that how much ICOSA is given out each day is determined by how much Hedron is burnt. So a lot of it comes from these auctions. These auctions are also a fantastic place if you want to get cheap T-shares. I haven't looked for the last kind of week or two about what's been happening there, but generally speaking, people have been getting some amazing discounts, like sometimes 20% discount, 30% discount, even 40, or like for some of the really big stakes,
50.
like, up to 60% discount kind of thing. And so if you are starting out and you want to get some cheaper T-shares, it might be worth looking into this. And if you see in that middle column where it says Hedron bonus, and in some it's a 0x and some there's a 10x. Mm-hmm. When Hedron was launched, there was a period of time where people could basically claim that bonus. And so every time they mint Hedron, they get an additional 10x of the Hedron or 3x of the Hedron. And so those stakes with a bonus are going to be worth even more than the other ones for that reason, because of their
Right.
ability to produce hedron.
Hmm. So let's talk about this auction peer, or what do you call this platform, a little bit more, because I see that you have like the ability to start it. How do the auctions come up? Do they have to be manually started? Do you yourself have to do it, or you can just like bid on anyone that's already running?
Yeah, so you basically, like, once the contract has borrowed all of the hedron, there's a 90-day period, and because no payments are being made, at the end of 90 days, that borrow goes into default. At that point, anybody can pay off that borrow, and that sends the stake to auction.
Mm.
Once it's and if you scroll down from here, you might be able to see some active auctions, or maybe you can't. I'm not sure. Is that the?
Yeah, there are
Or
some
maybe,
active auctions, but the next one will end in 1.5 hours, so
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
really.
So basically, there's a
But yeah,
24-hour period. There's a 24-hour period where anybody can bid hedron on that stake, and at the end of the 24-hour period, if anybody makes a bid within the last 5 minutes, that extends the clock by 5 minutes. So what you find is there's not too much action generally in the 24 hours, and then right at the end, in the last kind of 5 minutes, people start sort of fighting for it, or bidding for it rather. And
yes.
yeah, and so people bid on it, and if somebody wins it, then that person, or anybody actually, can run the function to end the auction, and that sends it to the winning bidder's wallet.
Mm. Hex, KSP Lion, maybe you could talk a little bit of, I've seen you do the calculation before, as to how you evaluate whether or not you're getting a discount. And I know it's just simple math of looking at, how many hex are there. Obviously, these stakes, based on the percentage of served, you know that you're getting a better T-share rate than you would get if you were just to go a native stake. But what is the simple math that you can do just to see whether or not this is a auction worth bidding on?
Yeah, and the math is really simple. So I will make the example here with this HSI stake here, because it has exactly 3 T-shares and also a little bit of launch bonus. And as we can see, it has 21,771 hex. So if you get it lower than for 21,771 hex, you already made a good deal. And in order to find that out, we just go to Uniswap, and we'll put in here hex. We swap that around. We put that away, and we put the 21,000. How much is it? 771. It already. Yeah, 771. And then we look it up. How much Hedron is that worth right now? Because in order to make a new stake, we will need even more than 21,771 hex for 5,555 days in order to create 3 T shares. So if we get like anything lower than that, we already make a good deal. So how much do we have here? We have 720 million Hedron. And if we looked it up right now, I mean, it's still 7 hours to go, but the current offer is 450 million Hedron. So that makes like current offer is like 40% under the underlying hex. But that's not the value of this stake. The value is even more, because as it is having a launch bonus, it's already pretty old, like about 10 months old, maybe even 11 months old. So this hex stake already has some accrued interest, and not that and already like 25% of accrued interest. So how much is that? About 5,000 hex in addition, which is already like accrued interest there. And this launch bonus you can never get right now. So there is also like an additional value here. So if I just put like 27,000 hex here, that would be like kind of the maximum value what somebody could think about like voting for that. So that would be 892 million Hedron, which is like, and the current bid is like half of that. So the 450 is more or less like 50% of the underlying value here.
And I don't even think you mentioned the fact that you also have a 3x bonus on the Mintable Hedron, so that has value as well.
Yeah, I guess I mentioned it, but yeah, yes, it has also a value. So you have like the hex, you have the accrued interest, and you have the 3x bonus. So everything under 900 million Hedron is like still a better deal compared to
Native.
stake 3T shares right now.
Yeah.
And like someone mentioned in the chat, there's a fantastic website that Sloth made, which is
Mhm.
called lookintohedron.com.
Look into
And-
hedron.com.
Yeah,
okay.
look into hedron.com, and he actually has like a list of the latest ones that are in auction, and you can click on them and you can see like whether it's worth it or not. He gives you all the calculations, and not only that, but he also gives you the ability to see the address of the last person who bid. So if you're in a little bidding war, you can actually see who you're in a bidding war with and how much hedron they have liquid, or if they've
Yeah,
just
and then you can just like vote a little bit more Hedron as they might have or something then, and then
and
you
I
get-
was watching one big it wasn't even a huge one. It was a medium-sized kind of was watching a bidding war, and I was looking at one of the people, and one of the people had just tons and tons of hedron, and this other person had hardly anything, and then they were being outbid, and so they just wanted to increase it by the smallest amount, and so they went and bought more hedron, or they started doing stuff to get more hedron. And I was just thinking, man, if you could see who you're bidding against, you just wouldn't even bother.
That is a very good point. We got a question from the chat. Let's see what he says. Is it better to add my original Icosa stake, or should I let it in and harvest the Icosa and Hedron and restake all of it?
It's a really good question. Like Icosa stakes and Hedron stakes, for that matter, have minimum periods that you have to stake for. There's no maximum period. So if you don't end the stake just keeps on going and keeps on accumulating interest. The thing is that if you just leave it there and don't end it, you're missing out on the compounding the yields. So I would say you're probably better off ending the stake, but then and then restaking with both amounts. But you might want to look at dividing up the Icosa into a few different addresses, because if you put a whole lot of Icosa into one stake, you might have to wait like a whole year or 270 days or 180 days. Whereas if you break them up into smaller amounts, you might only have to wait like kind of 90 days, or if it's really small, 30 days.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, because I did notice that. I noticed that based on the amount of Hedron or Icosa that you're staking, it changes what your minimum stake length period is. How is that? Do you know how that's calculated, or is there, like an easy way to figure out, what's my max if I only want to have it staked for, let's say, the 30 days and don't have to go up to the 90 days?
Yeah, first of all, the easiest way to do it is just to put the values, is just to make the stake, but not confirm it with through your MetaMask. So if you just put it in, it will tell you how many days, and then you can adjust those values, and the amount of days will adjust as well. If you want to go into the formulas that it uses to determine, basically what it's doing is it's looking at how much is staked and how much of a percentage your stake is sorry, not at how much is staked. It's looking at the global. Oh, hang on. I'm going to get confused here because it's a bit different with Hedron on Arcosa. But it's basically looking at the total amount and then how big it is of that total amount, like whether it's a shark, dolphin, squid kind of level. And it will give you,
pool.
yeah, but it's not of the pool. It's of the total amount in circulation. And the thing is with Icosa, when you stake Icosa, the Icosa is burnt, and so you get a very small amount. Like you might like because your percentage will be bigger of that amount because most of Icosa is when it's because it's burnt when it's staked. Whereas with Hedron, it's. Am I confusing that? Is that the other way around? No, I think it's right. I haven't looked at it for a while, but basically, Hedron is not burnt. Yeah, of course it's not burnt because then it'd come out as Icosa. So when Hedron is staked, it's just frozen, and so you'll also see if you have an amount. They're very different between the two pools. But the easiest way is just to type in the values, and you'll see how many days your minimum is.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so by end staking and restaking, like including your interest, you are recalculating your position or something like that, or what happens by doing that?
Yeah, because it goes based on points, and the points are worked out in relation to the Hex T-share rate is a part of that working out how many points, and because the Hex share rate is always going up, the amount of points that you can get like from back in time is always going to be less. And so in that sense, you're better off just keeping it in there. But the amount of money you can make on the compounding is going to be more. And so I think that's probably what seems to be the best tact or strategy is to, after your stake is finished, and that's what I've done. I've ended them and I've restaked what I've earned and also what I had. And you're always going to make more compounding than you are just leaving something in there and it being a simple math.
Right. Yeah, just by the sheer amount of Hedron or Icosa that's staked, your return is going to be larger. So I have this question. Somebody, and not financial advice, this is more personal, right? If you were to learn from your experiences, but coming in with fresh eyes, saying that I'm new to crypto, I found out about this Hex, this Hedron ecosystem, I am ready to make my first buy. As people that are in the ecosystem, we have a little bit of everything. We have native Hex stakes, we have HSIs, we have Hedron staked, we have Icosa staked, but somebody new, looking to make that first ape in, what direction, would you consider that you get the most bang for the buck? Right? Staking Hedron.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky to say. Before all of these other kind of things that were built on top of Hex came out, it was very simple. Just get Hex and stake it, make a ladder. It was probably good advice. But since all of this other stuff, like all of Maximus and all of the other perpetuals plus Hedron and Icosa, it makes it very, very tricky. And also the ability to make HSIs. It makes it very, very tricky to recommend anything. And it really depends on the person's personal situation. Like, is this a person who is looking to retire in 15 years and just wants to set themselves up for that in 15 years? Or do they want to set themselves up in 10 years? And if they get lucky in the in-between time, it's too hard to generalize a kind of recommendation. I think you can look into all of these things, know your options, and do your best. It's also tricky because a lot of this stuff, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Like when we were making Hex stakes, we had no idea that all of this stuff would be built on top of Hex that we could mint from Hex. Now there's communists as well, and like with a communist, that's another free airdrop. Communist, yeah. That's for me, like that's been a really hard one as well, because I haven't recommended that to too many people because I just don't know how to explain it quickly. The tokenomics behind it. It's like, oh God. So it's really dependent on how much you want to learn and how much you want to invest in your own financial education. And understand that it's a journey and there's no perfect answer because we don't know what the future is. I would probably say give yourself some flexibility, like have some liquid hex, have some native hex stakes, have some HSI stakes, stake some Hedron, stake some Icosa, get some Maximus. That's already like tons and tons, and it's very hard to know how to start if you're coming in new and you only have like a few $1,000s to invest or something like that. Maybe that's I can't really give a generalized kind of like advice.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I hear what you're saying though. So let's hear what KSB Line has to say.
Because I mean, you know, we are in the same ecosystem. So all the money you're invest into those things, it's not really about diversification. So my advice would be at first you still go and buy Hex because that's like the underlying of everything here, and you just buy the part of Hex which you want to do something with. Let's say it like that. What you don't want to forget for 3 up to 15 years. And then the next part of your money, you might think about buying Hedron with it because that should be the part of your money which is going towards 5555 stakes. And in order to get like the best T shares for 5555 stakes would be to get some Hedron and then go with the HSI auctions there in order to get more T shares for already existing HSI stakes. And then a third part of your money, maybe you besides the 5555s, you also want to have exposure to a 10-year stake, and therefore it would be recommended right now to go for the DECI
Yeah, true.
discount because it's like
it's
only
like 35% or
0.8
something
hex.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's or 78 hex for one DECI or something like that. So now we have our 15-year exposure, we have our 10-year exposure. With the 15-year exposure over time, we can mint the Hedron, then we can stake the Hedron over more time. We can restake the Hedron with the no, we can like just end stake the Hedron, stake the Icosa yield out of that, and then restake the Hedron again. And mint again like from our stakes, you know. So that's how we can increase this Hedron stake as well. And yeah, so I guess that's the way how you can get like the a kind of a nice ladder, because like before all the systems, one of my standard ladders was 5 years, 10 years, and 5555, and that's like where you can get the best T shares for the 5555 part, the best T shares for the 10-year part, and then you also buy some hex for your liquid part and for your 5-year part, for example.
Yeah, that's all fantastic advice, actually. That's really good advice. And I think the common denominator here is to think in the long term. Don't think I'm going to get rich in 3 months' time. Like that might happen. And in that sense, it's kind of good to have some liquid stuff just in case, you know, there is an explosion and you just want to scrape off a bit and pay off what you originally put in or whatever. But that speculative kind of short-term plays, like I think you're much better off in like playing the long-term game. And that means that, you know, when I say long-term, I mean at least 4 years, at least a 4-year cycle. You know, and if not more. And then, yeah, like that's, and just keep learning, because there's going to be more and more stuff built on all top of this stuff. Like we're only just getting started, believe it or not. Like I remember when Hedron came out and I thought, oh, this is just a start. Once people see this works, other people are going to build on top of stuff. And that's what started happening. And it's not going to end because you don't need any permission to make these contracts. So people are going to come up with all sorts of weird stuff. And it really is such an ever-evolving space. So get your long-term positions in first off, I think is a really good advice. And then have a little bit for a speculative kind of plays in the shorter term as well,
Mhm.
because it's
Yeah, I like the I like the Pareto principle when it comes to crypto portfolios as well. So having like 20-80, so 20% liquid, 80% staked in a long-term ladder, because if your underlying asset performs a 6x, a 500%, no, a 5x, a 400% move, then by selling your 20%, you're essentially taking out your whole investment, and you have like everything like risk free, the remaining part, and also you only need like 20%, after a 5x in order to get your whole investment back.
yeah,
And
and there's
then you still
really
keep 80%, and then 80% can grow, which is not bad.
yeah, absolutely. And it really is a fantastic feeling taking out your original money that you put in and just knowing that everything you've got is just gravy. And yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you guys my initial investment of Hex I took out in April 2020.
Nice.
Like the
Free
week
rolling.
after Godwell doubled the price. So yeah.
Free rolling to retirement. Huh? I love that. So I think that that's a good time to bring this up, and I'll tell you what it's all about in just a second, Blue. Tried to explain it to you and you cut out, and I don't know if you actually heard. Patrick has agreed to take my truth or dare challenge. Without your screen on, I don't know whether or not, for sure, if you get truth, you could do it easily. Dare, I don't know so much. But basically, the way that this works is that I will spin the wheel for truth or dare. It will decide if Patrick gets truth or dare. If he does not like the truth, it's just way too truthful, or the dare is just way too embarrassing, then he can opt out by sending a member of our chat, one of our live viewers, $50 of the crypto of his choice. So if you don't want to lose any money, you got to do the truth. You got to do the dare. Are you ready for this, Patrick?
I'm ready. Let's go.
So far, I've been 100% all truth. So I know dare's coming. Oh my gosh, another truth. This is getting out of control. I want to see
We
some
have a winner,
dares.
truth. So what is my truth question?
So now we have to spin the truth. Just give me 1 second to pull up the truth wheel. Let's see what you get.
There is a truth wheel. Okay.
Truth wheel. All right. What is your guilty pleasure?
My
I bet
guilty
it's buying
pleasure.
shitcoins, isn't it? That's what you
Again?
think nobody knows about. Do you buy meme coins? Do you buy shit coins? Is that your guilty pleasure that no one knows about?
It's my guilty pleasure. Yeah, we can say that. Yeah, my guilty pleasure is that I sold Hedron for Pulse Doge.
So you're a D.
He's a private degen, guys. What about you, Blue? It's just a truth. You want to answer that? What's your guilty pleasure?
Man, I don't feel guilty about my pleasure. Like I take my pleasure. That's
I like
don't
that.
Yeah,
Just something to have a
Weird
little fun, lighten up the conversation. I like to do that, mix that in. So I
yeah.
think
So now it's Blue's turn, no? Now it's Blue's turn. Turn the wheel
sure,
again. Did
sure.
I
I'd love to
truth right?
play.
okay.
I'd love to play.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see if we can get him with a juicier one. My internet is so slow. Bear with me, guys. It's coming. It's coming. All right, here we go. Watch, he'll be the
Let's
first
see
one to
if you
get
get
the dare.
a dare. Yeah.
It's like impossible to get the
Look
dare.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's seriously been like 6 spins in a row. I've had Randy Hilarski, B Roots, Crypto Coffee, all truths, everyone. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. What is the shittiest coin you've ever bought?
Oh God, that's easy. The shittiest coin I've ever bought. See, I mean, I've been in since like 2016. So there was, I mean, they're not well. I've bought coins that haven't been in existence. I don't know if that counts as the shittiest coin.
Did they ever come out?
No, it didn't. What was it called? There was one ICO that I invested in that the guy just ran off with all the money. I can't even remember the name of it now, though. But I thought it was a smart idea. It was the same idea as what the B8, the BAT token is. Actually, maybe it was a shit idea. Maybe it was looking back, it was probably a really dumb
Looking
idea.
back now.
Yeah, but it was like the basic attention token before that came out, and it was oh God, what was his name? It was some Russian dude, and I sent him a whole Bitcoin, which wasn't as much at the time, but looking back, it was probably a pretty dumb. Yeah. What other shitty coins have I mean, I bought a number of kind of pretty shitty coins back in 2016 for sure, 2017.
Yeah, I mean,
iExec, that comes to mind. I think they were going to like make invoices for business or something, like all automated and there was some token in it somehow. iExec. That's probably up there with one of the shittiest. I wonder if it still exists actually.
Yeah, I feel like anybody who's been in crypto any length of time has bought their share of some shitty coins.
I'm just looking it up now, and it still exists. iExec RLC, and it's $1.91. I have no idea what it was back then.
Maybe it was a penny and you forgot about that, and now you find like $100,000.
Man, I sold all of that stuff for Bitcoin when I realized the bull was in for a few years. I just thought, the bear was in for a few years. I just I got out of all of those alts. But yeah.
All right, Blue. What else is there to talk about when it comes to Hedron, ICOSA, and HSIs?
I feel like that is you guys were very thorough in explaining the ecosystem to me. I think if I had one final question, it would be about ICOSA. I know that you have the ability to use Hedron to buy HSI, tokenize it, and get ICOSA back. Would you prefer? Is it cheaper? Is there any reason why you wouldn't just straight buy it off the market if the goal was to have ICOSA?
You mean buy Hedron and so you can stake it to get ICOSA? Or...
No, so like when you tokenize the HSI,
like what Kaylin is talking about is like the difference between getting a HSI stake and exchanging it for ICOSA compared to just buy the ICOSA on the market.
Yep.
Yeah, that's if you go back to look into Hedron and you bring up one of those ones that are currently in auction, you'll see that as part of the calculation, good deal relative to mintable ICOSA. And in this case, that's a simple way to do it. And by the time it's the end of the auction, you see no there because ICOSA is well below its ceiling price at the moment, which means it's not really worth it to arbit. So you are better off just buying the ICOSA rather than selling the HSI to the ICOSA contract.
And you cut out just a little bit. Patrick, can you say that again? What he was when he first cut out, what he was trying to show us?
Yeah, just like if you go here on the lookintohedron.com page, I just try to load the stake beforehand, because the stake what I loaded right before is the one which is still like into auction for the next hour, so that's just like undervalued still. But let's go with this one, with the 10x one, with the nearly 400 B shares, and that went away with nearly 92 million Hedron, like nearly $200. And the underlying ICOSA of this stake is just worth $44. So usually, so it's just if you made like an incredible deal, but usually right now all the HSI auctions are not a good deal relative to mint-able ICOSA, but they are still a good deal relative to make your own stake today. And even like with the I mean, in that case, it's also a no, but it's only showing like 2,700 hex, which is $184. But on those 2,700 hex, there is the 10x bonus and already a year of interest. So 12 is 6, there is like 550 hex or 500 hex already as accrued interest on that, and that would make it worth it again.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a number of ways you can look at the value of these HSIs. What he's done there is just how much will it cost to make that stake?
The underlying
just
hex.
making it now. Yeah, the underlying hex.
Yeah, but it's also not really a really good math because like the cost to make this stake would be the cost of hex in order to create the 386 02B shares again, which would
there's
be
more.
like 3,000 hex or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't account for the fact that the
More.
timeshare rate has gone up. Stake was started.
Yeah, because the share rate has gone up during, and it has been nearly an entire year, because if the 10x bonus was made like on the first day, then I guess next week would be the year. No, Bluebomb, I guess Hedron has its first anniversary next week or something. No,
It just passed a couple of days ago. I think it was the 26th of Feb. So today's the 28th of Feb. So it was
2 days ago.
Just had
so happy birthday, Hedron.
Happy birthday, Hedron. Yeah. Well done, Alex. Superstar.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to start having Hedron yacht parties, huh? So another 10x and we'll be doing it. So yes,
Bluebomb. So you should be in charge, no, for
the Hedron yacht party.
The yearly the yearly Hedron yacht party.
I should be, yes.
Yeah.
I'll get onto that. Well, having another meetup.
What was that?
Yeah. No, yes, I should be in charge of that for sure.
Yes.
And it would fit, because we had like beginning of December the Hex birthday, then end of February the Hedron birthday, then a few months later you can make the ICOSA birthday,
Or
going
the
well.
Pulse birthday.
Maybe during the summer we get Pulse and Pulse X birthday, so we will fill out the calendar, with our crypto.
Patrick, we're gonna be
we're
gonna be spending a lot of time together. We're gonna be meeting every few months.
Yeah, it's true.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you both again for joining me in this Hedron ICOSA overview. It's always very informative speaking with either one of you. You guys are both very, very knowledgeable in the space. If there's any last words you want to share, Blue, as far as where people can follow up with you, maybe the name of the Hedron Telegram chat, or any other information you'd like to share before we close out today.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks so much to you guys, Kaylin and Patrick. I really appreciate all that you guys are doing in the space. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I fully support you guys. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with you in like a month and a half, a couple of months, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, less than 2 months. We are starting with the cruise, Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas and back.
Yeah. In terms of if there are people here who are just getting into either crypto or to Hex, my general advice is really get your security, understand your security and get your security set up really well at the start. That's the most important thing. And don't ever, FOMO. Don't be in panic. You always have plenty of time. Just take your time, you're going to make much better decisions when you have understanding. And so take the time to learn. This is all really new stuff. And but it's also super fun and super interesting, and it really is a really innovative space. And so I think you're all in the right space if you are there at the moment.
Yeah. And what is the name of the Hedron Telegram?
Okay, so yeah, the Hedron Telegram is, I'm just going to get the exact thing. Hedron Telegram is Hedron Crypto, HEDRONCRYPTO. So at Hedron Crypto on Telegram. And the ICOSA is at ICOSA Crypto. And yeah, when you go into the Hedron or the ICOSA chats, try typing !pasta, PASTA. And that brings up a whole lot of different things, like different calls that you can make, like a big menu of stuff. And I find that's a fantastic place for beginners to come to learn. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And if you are in the chats, like ask questions and ask them in public. If people message you, they're probably scammers. Don't, there's all sorts of people trying to impersonate the administrators and us. And
nobody is like DMing you first who only wants to do you good. Nobody is like that kind of Jesus on Telegram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and ask the questions in public. We much prefer to answer questions in public as well, because also then other people who happen to be reading, they can see those questions. And if sometimes you don't even know what question to ask, and then you see someone else ask.
And just anonymous. Just don't show like all your cards. You can speak in fake numbers, in percentage numbers, and so on. If you want to invest like 100,000, you don't need to tell anybody. You just like what's your strategy for a 10,000 portfolio or a 5K portfolio, and then you can make the math yourself if you want to. And what I also wanted to say, so besides thank you and thanks for coming by, Bluebum. It's always awesome to talk to you. I'm missing our private crypto conversations actually, and also looking forward to the Hex cruise, which we have in 6 weeks. And Caitlin, maybe you can go ahead and explain the audience where they can find the cruise information, and then also what's going on like at the last day of the cruise when it comes to the Hexy Awards.
Sure. And Blue, I hear that you are having a great time out there in Mexico, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you. The music sounds great, though. So we have the Hex Cruise coming up April 24th through the 28th. You can go to hexcruise.com for more information. There are still rooms available, but they are limited, so I would try to book sooner rather than later. We have a full itinerary of activities. Everything from group dinners, there's a formal night, there are tons of entertainment on the ship that we'll be going to, comedy shows and different things like that. And then just for the Hexkins on the final night, we have a private cocktail party where we will be doing our Hexy Awards. So if you have not already voted for the Hexy Awards, please go by ksb.tv. Scroll down a little bit, you'll see a picture of the award itself, and then you can vote. These awards are essentially our way of saying thank you and recognizing all the different content creators in the space for all that they have contributed to the Hex ecosystem. We do plan on live streaming this event, so even if you won't be on the cruise, you can still come back here to KSB TV and get a little bit insight onto what it is that we're doing at this. I think, who was it that Crypto King, he wanted to brand us as something. He said that this is the biggest Hex mass meetup on water. So I'll take it.
I'll take it as well.
Yeah, I'll take it. And then,
all right. Let's see if Bluebum has something to say. It was like
thanks. They started playing music at the restaurant I am, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I'm totally looking forward to the cruise and seeing you guys again and getting into our deep crypto discussions, Patrick, which I've been missing as well. And
Yeah, we will definitely do that on the cruise ship.
yeah, for
For
sure.
sure. We're even going to have a breakout session on the cruise for some of our new and no coiners that have asked that we do something educational. So we were able to get a nice private room where RG3, Coffee, maybe even Blue, Hex Lion, and KSB Lion, they will all be doing some presentation on different areas such as security and things like that. So gonna be an awesome time. I cannot wait. Super excited. Hope you all can be there with us. So, all right. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna throw up our outro and I'm gonna say see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thank you, Kaylin. Bye bye.
Thanks, Galen. Ciao.